How you doing, everybody? Nick DiVirgilio here, and I have some great, very special guests in studio with me today. We have Blake Richardson, Dustie Waring, and Dan Briggs from the band Between the Buried and Me. I'm very excited to have you guys here. Welcome to Sweetwater.
Thank you for having us. We really appreciate it.
We were talking before, before the cameras were rolling. I've seen you guys play a few times in my life. One time way back. What year was that when you did the Dream Theater Opeth
2008.
gig? 2008, back in Los Angeles at the Universal Amphitheater.
10 years ago.
I know. But it was killing. That gig got me turned on to you guys. We have a mutual friend in Mike Portnoy in Dream Theater and stuff, and I've been listening to you guys ever since. And what a great band. You guys are really solid. So congratulations on your career and everything you guys have been going and doing all this time.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah. That means a lot coming from yourself.
I appreciate that. Now, you guys, as far as I can tell, you guys tour relentlessly.
We do.
Which is kind of par for the course with music these days, right? I mean,
yeah, I think some people get confused that I don't know if it's from the 80s and 90s how much money was involved with people buying records,
right?
Budgets and whatever, but it's a blue collar thing. You go out, you play a gig, you sell a thing, you make money, and then at the end of the day, that's what we do, you know.
I mean, do you guys have that same sort of feeling that records are now sort of promotion for your live gigs? Is that sort of how
essentially, yes, yeah. That's, I mean, if you're trying to make it as a band these days, gigs are where it's going to be able for you to pay your bills and things of that nature.
Now, you guys have toured and opened up and headlined with a lot of really cool bands over the years.
Very lucky.
Yeah,
very
that's
lucky.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Now, you guys sort of known as progressive metal. Do you guys get into these sort of tags at the end of, to describe your band? Is that, you into that kind of thing, or do you just?
We've heard some real funny ones. We had adult contemporary death metal.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had, what was the?
Some mixed with polka.
Yeah,
polka
grunge.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
Power slop.
That's what power
We always reference Airheads.
Yeah.
We're more like power slop.
Yeah, I think for us it's funny that something like prog or progressive came back and cycled through, because I know a lot of those original bands from the 70s would probably scoff at it. And I think the idea is that it is more of like an idea. It's you're doing something left of center. We try not to repeat ourselves, always trying to do something different. And I think that's the main thing that we take away. And whether that gets you an experimental or progressive tag, we try to. That's what's easiest for us, I think, because we're made up of so much different musical influence, and it all kind of comes out. So.
Yeah.
Well, the new records, there's a lot of fun, left of center things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's heavy for sure, but you guys have a lot of cool things going on that new record. So how much do you guys get involved with the writing and the whole band? And is it a full group effort, or how does the writing work with you guys?
It's fairly cumulative. Like we all kind of do, compose our individual sections, and then we get together over a certain period of time and say, okay, well, Paul has this section that he came up with and actually works really well with what Dan did. Right. And we kind of just piece things together that are meant to be together. So it's kind of doing a big puzzle.
Yeah, cool. As the years have gone on, I think we try to we try to be aware of what everyone's doing kind of early on, so that, if I know Dusty has this section that's in A at 120 BPM or whatever, that I can build around that and have ideas for, because we write these dense kind of concept records, as you're familiar with yourself, that you can reference throughout and try to interweave and really do more with less. It's fun to really turn parts on their head throughout a record and get as many different variations as you can. So going into a record, knowing kind of what's out there ahead of time is a big thing. And you referenced the new one. We had this track, Voice of Trespass, which is this fun, quirky kind of super up tempo.
Yeah.
About 210, 215.
Double swing jazz, dude.
Yeah. Hyperactive swing song. But the track before it is this fun, quirky little ballad that's really just made up of the section from the end of the song, and then and kind of the verse, but just in a total different variation. And it really was written, that little 2-minute thing, as a bridge from proverbial bellow, which is this 13-minute blowout, getting into this swing thing, and it's a fun way to keep it flowing and keep it kind of cohesive, you know.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the one cool thing about progressive music, I think, in my opinion, if you don't mind me saying so, is that you can sort of just do. You're not pigeonholed into doing one certain thing.
Yeah,
you're not a pop band and you have to stay a pop band.
Yeah.
You guys can do your thing, and your fans probably expect you to do that kind of stuff. So
yeah, that's the beauty of it, man. You're essentially pretty free as far as like the writing goes, and if you like it and you're enjoying it and it strikes a chord with you, then you're doing something right. Cool. Like, yeah, you're on the right path.
Now, you guys, the whole band, I mean, you guys are all incredible musicians. If you haven't heard this band Between the Buried and Me and haven't gotten into you guys as players, you should definitely check it out because you guys are top notch. Now, so when did you all, say individually, when did you start playing drums?
Oh, God, I started when I was like 11, 12 years old.
Okay.
I went to a family reunion and my uncle had an old 60s Ludwig drum kit, and I immediately got back there and did probably some generic Green Day beat or something like that. And then next Christmas, that showed up in my living room.
Nice.
Yeah.
But you knew drums were what you wanted to do?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I was into it.
What about you, Dusty?
I think I was, how old are you in like 7th grade?
13 maybe?
Yeah, 13-ish. Yeah.
Well, maybe I was like 12. I got a guitar Christmas of 5th grade, and I learned Louie Louie, and it just kind of infuriated me how hard it was, so I just put it in the closet, and 7th grade is when I like picked it up because a buddy of mine started playing, and yeah, so.
You heard Space Hog and you knew you had to do
Had to do
it. Yeah, I was lucky because I had a music teacher for a mom, so.
Okay.
You know, she got me started on sax when I was like 8 or 9, and that only lasted a couple years, and I started playing guitar, and then switched to bass when I was 12 and kind of did both throughout, but I was really thankful to have her, you know, to get me started.
Sure.
And then also to be flooding me with, you know, all sorts of different sounds throughout the house. And,
Right.
Yeah.
Now, are you guys schooled musicians? Did you go to music school after high school and that kind of stuff, or private lessons? That kind of thing?
Mixture of me personally, a mixture of kind of everything. I did symphonic orchestra in high school, did a little band stuff, and then got kind of into theory when I had private lessons for a few years, and then from there, once I got past high school, I just kind of
did your thing.
Did stuff. Yeah, did my own thing.
My whole dad's side of the family are kind of ear players.
Okay.
So I just kind of tried not to sound bad, and then
I went to
whatever.
school for upright bass
Okay.
for a year and a half before I cut out and moved to North Carolina to join the band 14 years ago.
Now, because I mean, the music is dense. Some of it's really hard, sounding. So I mean, do you draw on some of the early education to kind of to learn this stuff? How do you internalize some of this music? 'Cause some of it's long, and it seems like parts are. I'm sure they probably repeat once you really learn the songs. But I mean, some say it just sounds like it's one section to the next. All totally great. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard. And I play a lot of progressive music.
Oh,
I know.
yeah,
so
you would know.
How do you guys internalize this kind of stuff? Just with tons of practice and rehearsal?
Yeah, I think when you're part of putting the whole thing together, the composition makes a little bit more sense to you.
Right.
And to be honest, when we go to the studio, we haven't played the songs together. We'll maybe jam little parts, to feel if it should go, 8 times or 24 times. Right. And it's really not until we're prepping for a tour and we're like, okay, what stuff are we playing? What new song are we playing? And then there's just a lot of individual work at home that happens over the course of a couple weeks or a month. And I think probably part of our makeup, but also at the same time, Blake probably doesn't sit there and practice the rudiments and stuff that he would have done when he was younger, and I don't sit there playing scales. It's all.
I never do that. Honestly, just playing this material.
Yeah, it's got to keep you in shape.
Has definitely been more of a teacher to me. We all came in the band after there was 2 records out.
Right.
And just playing intense stuff like that has been more of a teacher to me personally than anything. And then when we write the records and then you have to learn how to play it all at one at one time.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, writing
Yeah.
is essentially what kind of expands our musical vocabulary as players.
Sure.
Like getting familiar with new material
Right.
and things like that. That helps a lot down the road.
Very cool. I love that kind of information from players. I think it's great.
Cool.
So thank you very much.
Yeah.
So what kind of stuff are you guys into? What are your influences even today, in the past? What kind of drives you to
Oh man, like
music these days.
musical influences?
Yeah.
Oh god.
I mean,
I know it's huge, but
yeah.
for me,
Some
it's
big
like
ones.
everything from like, the Zappa world and freak out jazz all the way up to like shoegaze 90s rock.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
that's my world.
We have a very eclectic world of influences. Yeah, it's weird. When I was growing up, I was super, I was a 90s kid, so I was obviously super into the grunge world, but then I was also into Pink Floyd, and then later I got into like Meshuggah and Cannibal Corpse and all these like intense metal bands. So it's like, I have a very wide spectrum as far as influences go.
Yeah, I grew up, obviously I love Alice in Chains, Pantera. Those were big ones for me. But I mean, just riding in the car with my dad, I was always listening to Van Halen or AC/DC or YNT or whatever, But
And now you're in the country world.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
I love like Jerry Douglas, Brent Mason.
Sure, Brent's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people see Keith Urban and think he's just some handsome guy, some pop artist, but he's actually a super legit guitar player. The older I get, the more I get into people like that.
Yeah, that
guys
just
like
comes
Keith
from
Urban,
growing up. Yeah.
Yeah,
just guys that are super, super tasty.
Yeah. Yeah, I like anything as long as it's good.
Yeah.
At the end of
Doesn't
the
matter
day.
what style it is,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
Awesome.
Totally, man. I agree.
Now you're here in town in Fort Wayne doing a gig tonight.
Yeah, man.
At Pierre's. Have you guys ever played Pierre's before?
Never done Pierre's.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I don't think we played Fort Wayne.
We never
before.
played Fort Wayne.
Pierre's, if you don't know at home, it's an old school rock club. It's been in this town for a long time. And
Cool.
tons of bands have played there. So I wish you all the best for your show tonight. Hopefully I can go.
Yeah.
That would be killer. And then, so how long is this tour going to last for this?
We're at the midway point right now.
It's
I
a
think today.
package tour, am I correct?
Big package
Yeah,
tour.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like 8 bands, I
9
think.
bands,
9
including
bands,
us,
actually.
I think.
Yeah. So it's really big.
Wow.
It's the first time we've ever headlined this particular kind of tour. It's just very, out of our comfort zone, because usually the headlining tours that we do are 3 bands max.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck. You're getting to see 9 bands for sure. I mean, that's a lot.
And do you guys know all the other bands? You hang?
Yeah, a
friends
few
with
of them we've toured with before,
Okay.
and a lot of the guys we've been friends with for a while. So it's kind of cool. It's like a summer long hangout.
Yeah.
Cool. Now these last 2 records, the Automata 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of music. How long did it take for that to kind of come together as a project?
Not really that long.
Yeah, we're always kind of like, it's like every 2-3 years we're putting out a record, and in between the touring that we do, you're naturally kind of just working on little stuff on your own.
Right.
And then it's kind of at the end of that 2-year cycle that we start sharing stuff. So it's like there's, a song like Proverbial Bellow, it just came out, but was like the first piece that I was working on like 2.5 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
After we put out Coma Ecliptic. So, some of it feels like it's been worked on and labored over for a long time, but
Yeah.
it's...
We had a lot of parts sitting
Yeah.
for quite a while, but once it came to putting the because it was written and recorded as one piece.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Pretty
we
quick.
worked on it for 2.5
Couple
months,
months, yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
A couple months. This is, what, our 9th record? We're pretty efficient at this point.
Yeah.
You got it down.
Yeah. But no, we still take our time with it, and
Yeah.
we're
Of course.
very, we have very precision-like dedication to how we structure our songs and things of that nature. But yeah, we kind of know the ropes of the whole write, record, tour,
Sure.
repeat the cycle
Yeah,
sort of scenario.
that's the way it goes. So was it a record company suggestion or the band to break this record up into 2 releases?
Record company.
Yeah. Yeah. But it worked out coincidentally because I think it lines up perfectly with how the concept goes and is actually musically where the split point ends and starts.
Right.
There's like just magically there was a point in the middle of the record where we come to a stop and then we start a new section. So we're like, that's actually
it was a cliffhanger. You know, a lot of kids.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of kids listen to it. And we're like, I want. You know, what happens?
Yeah,
You know, I want to hear part 2. So.
Well, that's some good strategery there, you know.
Yeah,
it's a good word for it.
Yeah.
Strategery.
Very cool. Now, watching a ton of stuff on YouTube with you guys, and obviously seeing you play live before, the band is incredibly tight.
Oof, it's debatable. But
it sure comes off that way. So how much, I mean, I know you guys must rehearse a lot, but some of these passages are really difficult. Do you guys, you know, start them really slow and then get them up to tempo? How do you guys work some of these really difficult parts together as a group? Because it sure comes off like it's...
Yeah,
I mean,
it's all individually at home. We only rehearse a day or two before a tour.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll
We'll
run the set once, and if there's like a, you know, if we're playing a new song, we'll run it a few times maybe.
Yeah, if you're screwing up, it's just you just go home and put in some more work and or do it. You know, we'll maybe early in tour we'll go over a song or two at sound check, but after that it's
I mean, that's the beauty of being in a band these days is as far as rehearsals go, because essentially I can take the stems from our record and jam along with them at home, but at the same time too, like we try to emphasize having at least 1 or 2 rehearsal days as a band, because you do, as a musician, you do play differently in front of other people.
Of course, once an audience there.
Yeah. So we do try at least like get 1 or 2 of those run-throughs under our belt before we play, a full-on gig. But yeah.
I think the hardest part for me and Paul is just, you know, maybe at home we're sitting there going over parts, you know, and kind of playing along. But when you're playing on your tour gear, you got to know, like, you're playing something super hard and you have to switch pickups and step on another preset and, you know, or you may have to make a few presets. That's always the hardest thing to me is
getting that motor memory dialed in.
Yeah, right.
Stuff
that
like
part
that.
of it
That's
down.
definitely part of it, for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. So now let's talk a little bit about gear, because we're at Sweetwater, and this is all about gear in this place. So we were talking before we started this interview. I just had John Palmer from Tama here, and you play Tama drums. And how long have you been playing Tama?
Ooh, God. I've been playing Tama since 2000. When did we do Ozfest? 2006? Yeah, right after Ozfest. So post, like, towards the tail end of 2006, I got in with Tama when Aaron was working there, and he was a young guy. He was really cool. He was working for the company, and he was a good dude. And he saw that we were touring a bunch, and I was a big fan of the product of the brand. I love Tama drums, and I've been with them ever since. Man, they rule.
What is it about those drums that
they're
make you want to
so
play?
roadworthy?
Yeah.
Like, they're very underrated as far as that goes. Like, they're the toughest drums as far as for touring musicians that money can buy, for sure. And the thing I love about them too is their mid-grade kits, which I guess you could consider like the BB line, the Birch Babinga line. That's such a good economically feasible drum kit to get, because you get so much for your money. They're maybe a little bit towards the expensive end, but as far as like an all-around great drum kit, those are incredible.
Nice.
Like they whatever the wood mixture that they did between the Birch and Babinga, they really dialed it in perfectly, man.
Nice.
Great company.
And you're a Sabian player. Lots of
Sabian guy. Oh yeah, I love Sabian. Yeah, I got with them like right around the same time, I think,
Okay,
with
cool.
around 2006. They're cool. They're just very. I love how they've always been really into experimentation.
Well, you have a lot of sounds in your kit.
Exactly. Yeah. That's like a lot of effects type stuff, and Sabian's really into that. But at the same time too, they have that old school formula.
Nice.
Like if you want that old school kind of sound, that natural sound, you can do that too. So they kind of cover all the bases.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Now, Dusty, you're holding the PRS, but it's not your PRS.
It's not my PRS, but it's close.
They sold out of them.
Yeah, we don't have Dusty's PRS in stock because they're so popular.
Sold them all.
That's good. So how long have you had your own signature guitar? And what's it like having your own signature guitar?
Oh, it rolls, man. It's still kind of surreal at times, but I I've been with PRS since 2008, I think, and we did a first run of like a more expensive model. I think that was 3 years ago, maybe. But this one's been out since January, and it's a bolt-on. You know, it's the CE. It's got a Floyd. It's got my signature pickups, thinner neck profile. We moved the controls around a bit to accommodate the Floyd. But yeah, it's been out since January. It's doing real good. People seem to like it.
Nice.
And I think it's gonna hang around for a while. So
very cool. Now, how many guitars do you use on a gig normally?
One.
You just play that same guitar all night long? Okay, cool. Very cool.
I've always thought, you know, growing up, I always thought it was awesome to see the guitar changes, and you know, I've always wanted to do that, but we just
all our songs are in the same tuning, don't? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, there's no reason for me to change, and B, usually I just don't really have time.
There's no time.
Yeah. When we're on stage, we're playing constantly.
Like
we don't really have any downtime.
There's not downtime, so I mean, I could switch for like an encore, but by that point, you've got it warmed up, you know, and I'm kind of a creature of habit anyway, so.
Very cool. Well, fellas, thanks so much for coming to Sweetwater. You got to take the tour, right? You saw the facility.
Yeah. Very impressed.
Get something to eat.
Oh yeah.
Get your hair done.
Food.
Go get a massage.
Yeah, I'd actually love a massage. I love a massage.
You got a salon. You got a gym. You guys are set up.
Racquetball.
I love it.
All of it. Well, thanks so much again for coming. Best of luck on the show tonight and the rest of the tour. And please come back and visit us anytime. Man.
We'll do. We'd love to.
All right. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching, everybody.